Welcome to the Daily Agenda, and we're going to do something out of the ordinary tonight. It's not going to be about politics, thank goodness, as I find politics around the clock to be an extremely boring subject, if you must know. And as much as most people do like the political talks that I give, in truth, I think I need to scale them down because I'm starting to get a headache, particularly when dealing with the centre-right muppets, because there's no point trying to talk sense to lemmings. So let's talk sense about something else, shall we? And this is going to be about Odinism tonight, about spirituality. It's the thing that brings me the most positivity in my life, that gives me the greatest strength. And that's why I love Odinism so much. And of course, you know, we've made videos recently about the mythical, imaginary pagan jihad and about how I became an Odinist and the process of practicing Odinism. And I don't claim to be an expert of any description. I've never met an expert, in truth, but that's just the way it is. There's far too many self-proclaimed experts of every description on a whole range of issues. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't rate their expertise. So I'm not talking to you tonight as an expert, a self-proclaimed expert. I'm talking to you as someone who wrote this book. There you go. It's called Shadow Soul. And it's all about Sather. Not entirely about Sather, but about how to master, I guess you could say, a basic understanding of the runes to ensure that you can use them in the sense of casting and divination, you know, at a proficient level, without actually resorting to all of these weird and wonderful manuals that say, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that, which I don't think so. You know, I developed my own method of I guess you could say, mastering the runes. And many years ago, when I lived in Nottingham, I used to do rune readings and tarot readings, psychometry, crystal readings, etc., on a full-time basis. And then eventually I stopped doing it because it simply became just far too intensive and I needed a break from it. But it was a very valuable experience, a very rich learning curve. You know, I did get a great deal from it. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of the people who bought this book, Shadow Soul, in the last 2 months, particularly this month, because it's the best-selling book this month. And that's the first time since I published it in 2021 that it's actually been my best-selling book. And so I'm really happy about that, because this book in many ways brings me more pleasure, particularly talking about it, than all the other books that I've written. And so I have to be honest about it. You know, politics can be dreadfully boring, quite frankly. This is a subject that doesn't bore me. It actually enlivens me. It gives me the divine spark, as it were, and refreshes my intellect and cleanses away all the tired dust of politics, which is how I view politics, in truth. The book itself, as you know, towards the end, it has some great poetry, the knowledge of crows, and I'll let you have a little look at it there without blocking off the entire screen. And there's the reverse of the book, and it was, I guess you could say, an amateur poet. An amateur poet is basically someone who doesn't do it on a professional basis. But yeah, she's, you know, great poet, in my opinion. And so I decided to put some of her poems in the back of the book. She's a pagan lady as well. She lives in Northern Ireland. And writing the book, where did I actually write it? I mean, I actually wrote it in HMP Ranby in North Nottinghamshire, on the border with South Yorkshire. I didn't actually write it, as in putting pen to paper, because they have this bad habit of going through your cell searches, particularly when you're out at the workshops, to spy on what you're doing. And so I committed it all to memory. I composed it in my mind, and then once I had time, I sat and wrote it. And I wrote it whilst I was living in Sussex. and a particularly dark winter, a dark, wet winter, I might add. And yeah, it's just it takes you through the process, the detailed process of learning Sather and how to use it, and also remote viewing, and also ESP runes. You know, so I recommend a totally different way of studying the runes using extrasensory perception, and it's all in the book, and lots of people have bought it and read it and they like it. And to me, I just find it, you know, really rich and rewarding to have written a book of this nature. It's taken a few years to pick up. You know, there was a trickle of sales over the years since it was published, peaks and troughs, etc. And now it's really started to pick up, which is great, you know, because I think this, more than anything else, more than any other book that I've written, like I said earlier, is the one that actually gives me most satisfaction. I think at the moment on Amazon it's on a special offer. I think they're asking just over £6 for it. I think the usual cover price is about £8. So it's not an awful lot. It's not an awful lot. But, you know, depending on what offer they have on Amazon at any moment in time, any given time, it'll cost you between £6 and £8. But, you know, for that, you will get a great deal of knowledge. And knowledge, of course, is priceless, is it not? That's how I see knowledge. And this is my way of practicing Odinism, because there is no right or wrong way of practicing Odinism. As I said before, there is only your way, and that is the right way. As I said in a previous video, I mean, obviously, if you're going to call upon a bottle of bleach, worship a bottle of bleach, then obviously you're not practicing Odinism, are you? You know, I'm being facetious, really, aren't I? Surely. But, you know, that's the point I'm making. You call upon the gods and goddesses. This is our true ancestral faith. And it's not all about the Vikings. Not at all. It's nothing to do with the TV show The Vikings with Ragnar Lothbrok, etc., etc. So I think you'll find it actually very surprising, and nor is it a history book either. It is nothing of the sort, nor does it purport to be a history book. It's something completely different than all of that. And what does shadow soul actually mean? Well, all of us have a shadow, don't we? You know, I'm not just talking about the shadow that's cast by the sun when walking down the street. The shadow soul lives within. Hindus call it the higher self. I call it the shadow self. And the great thing about writing the book that winter, I was actually on probation, and I had a very difficult probation officer in East Sussex, and he just delighted in being very negative. And this helped me enormously. The positivity that drips out of this book, and you'll feel it as well when you read it, it helped me enormously to divorce his negativity, to relegate it and put it back into its proper place, so that I didn't actually get infected with his negativity and dragged down with it. And, you know, positive thinking is something that all of us really should engage in. I don't say you should indulge it. No, I mean, indulge it is basically playing with it. You know, engage with it, embrace it, draw it into yourself. And that's what this book is all about. And there's also a couple of great chapters, you know, with Elfric and Sunderfeeler, who are two Americans that I trained in remote viewing and Sather. And they're two young Americans, and both of them were brought up Christians, and both of them converted to Odinism. And I really enjoyed working with them, and I actually continued training them whilst using emailaprisoner.com in HMP Ranby. They would email me probably every couple of weeks and ask for their next lesson, as it were, and I'd email them back a task that they needed to perform, and that's exactly what they did. And then that winter that I was released, and I had the opportunity to actually write the book, I included in there some of their experiences, the very detailed graphic experiences of what happened to them whilst practicing Satha and also remote viewing. And for those who say within the Odinist faith, oh, men shouldn't practice Satha, I remember this, I'll close this one tonight with an incident in York at the York Viking Festival, when I was talking to Valhalla Silva, who actually made the jury for the film The Northman. And I was actually talking there to Connor, and I said, well, the easiest way to counter that, Connor, quite frankly, is this. If somebody says that to you about a man practicing Satha, you simply respond to them by saying, are you saying that Odin, the All-Father, is effeminate for practicing Satha because he was known as the master of Satha, taught to him by Lady Freya? And that's the way that you deal with them. You know, don't be afraid of it. I know a lot of people, who men in particular, in the faith, suffer with the old masculinity problem. Ooh, crikey, you know, it's not masculine enough for me. I want to swing in a battle axe and a sword. Well, I don't need to do that or want to do that, quite frankly. I have something else, which is just as good. And that's the way I always deal with such people, is Odin himself practiced Satha magic, as it's called, Satha mana, and he was taught it by Freya, and he was taught the mystery of the runes by Freya, and the book actually covers that. But like I said, this is not a history book, nor is it a guide in how to resurrect and transform every single aspect of your life. It's not a cure-all, and it's certainly not the end-all. It's, I guess you could say, a good way to improve your life and to gain a great deal more knowledge than you've probably had at any time in your life on a whole range of issues. Because in truth, the majority of humans only use about 10% of their brain, and I'm not satisfied with that. There's the other 90% that needs to be tapped into. And so I feel humans don't really understand, in truth, just how intelligent and capable they can be. And that's one of the purposes of the book, is to help people plumb the depths of their shadow soul. So if you'd like to plumb the depths of your shadow soul, by all means do so. Get the book. It's entirely up to you. But I really appreciate the people who have bought the book all over the United States and Britain, and also Holland and Germany and Spain in the last 2 months, and also Sweden as well, southern Sweden. You know, excellent. I really appreciate it. And thank you for tuning into the Daily Agenda. It's been a pleasure tonight talking about something totally different than bloody awful politics, because as I'm sure you would agree, you know, there is no political solution, is there? But there are other solutions to the issues that we face, and I feel this book is one of the solutions, and maybe you care to plumb that solution to see if it works for you. All the best. Take care of your shadow soul. Thank you.